Hey class, ready for something fun? So we are going to talk about multi-way branching. You've seen if-else statement many times. Both assignments have if-else statement inside. And if the condition is fulfilled, then you execute one block of code, if not another block of code. But what if I have more than two conditions? For example, if I want to separate the people or the hours work larger than 40, smaller than 40, and exactly equal to 40, then we have statement, we can actually change the if, else to do this. So this is the pseudocode. You see the keywords are if, and else. Very important. For styling, always use curly bracelet. I guarantee you, if you don't, eventually you would run into problems that you forgot to do it. So either there will be errors or your program will not work as expected, because sometimes you might add a statement. After this you add a statement, then it functions totally differently. That's my tips. So after the if else statement, I want to talk to you about something called switch. So switch actually also is a multi way branching, but this time I want to show you the code before we talk about how to use it. So you see here is the program. We declare a character C. So what is a character? It's just letters like A, B, C, D, E. And then what does this program do? Let me run it. Please enter a letter A, B, or C. So we just let's enter B. Is that output banana? Run it again. If we enter D, for example, not A, not B, and not C, is that we don't have that fruit. So look at how this switch works. So we read in this character, and then we would say, using this character C in here, and then decide if the value is A or B or C or default. So if it's B, which is the first case we tried, it will print out banana. That's it. So this is the code that was in there exactly. Character C, we declare this character variable C. We output a instruction. We take in C as an input. We use that in the switch statement, and then we check the case. If it's the case of A, we output apple, and then we actually put a break there. So what do you think character C chart? What is chart again? Is character. What do you think switch does? I guess you know by now. What does default do? So for cases that is not in A or B or C, is caught by default, then it can do something. And so it's always recommended to have a default, unless you're 100% sure that people will only be able to input all the cases. Otherwise, there will be weird messages coming out, or the program doesn't function as you expected. Now we change the program to something like this and see what will happen. What we are doing is we add the case of capital A. So in previous before we do this, actually, if you put capital A, it will go to default, and it will print out we don't have that fruit. But see what will happen now that we add those capitals in the statement. So let's try A. It will print out apple also. So what do you think happened? What do you think happened? So it turns out that it will go down the list, and then if it found A, the capital A is here, but there's no break here, it will then go execute what's next. And so it will execute here, and then it will break out of this switch statement. So the same for B. If I type in capital B, it will actually match this statement, and then because there's no break, it will execute this line. So what do you think break does? This might be actually a good time to go and go to this link and then try the program out and see how break works. Now there's this illuminate data type that basically what it does is it's a keyword to declare a new data type that you can use. Mainly it's used for the purpose of making the program clearer. Basically, if you look at the value of so we even make it look like a constant. So maybe easiest is to look at a program. I always think that's really the easiest way. So look at how it's being used. You see it's declared this way. North now is taking a value of 1, and then automatically east actually become 2, south become 3, and west become 4. It's just the way the designer of C++ programming language decide to do it that way, which I think is nice. So I can just say the first one, and then the rest will automatically take on the value, so that they can be differentiated easily. So now how you can use it as a data type. You basically say the name of the data type now, the name of the variable, and then it can take on one of these values, and then you can switch this value, and then in the case you then can test if it's a north, it's a east, it's a west, or it's a south, and then choose accordingly. So now because it's west, so I would expect that it will actually go down the list and then find this cout statement, and then print out this at R11 County Park. It's actually, the parks around San Jose. See, so that's what it does. Maybe to help you to understand or remember this concept, is called enumerate. That's what it stands for. And direction is now becoming a new data type that you can use in the program, but not outside of this program, of course. Use them like a constant. It's commonly used for a switch statement. One thing I do want to mention though is that you can see that earlier in the other program we have to have like a single quote around a character, but for this, because this is actually represented as a integer, so you don't to have a single quote around it. Let me actually go back to that program. Oops. See, so in the case of being a character, when you test the case, you have to use single quote around the characters. But when in this case of integers, you don't have to for the switch statement. Now let's look at the concept of block and local variables. What do you think this fragment of code is going to evaluate to? What x will be, value will be print out? It turns out that if it's being surrounded by curly bracelet brackets, then you can, this x will be different than this x that's inside. If you don't have the curly brackets, actually this code would be an error. The compiler will complain and won't compile it. And the value of x will stay in here within this curly brackets. So let's look at how it runs. Yeah, so what would be your guess? So it prints out 13 first and then 99. Why? Because it will come to, so it like you probably already know, the statements are executed one by one, from line the smaller line to the bottom line, right? So it will come to here, you will see x is equals to 13, so it will print out this value of x first, and then once this is finished, this is already done, so it's kind of gone from the memory, hopefully, then the x equals to 99 become effective here, and that's why it prints out 13 first and then 99. And that's the concept of block and local variable. Just to make sure you understand, this variable within this block is called local variables. So we have covered character data type. We have seen if else branching. We've seen a switch. We've seen Enum. We've just talked about blocks and local variables. Next, loops.